Project Manager for OC2040 Comprehensive Plan Update. We have, Zoom has a few tools that you may already know about, but if you click on the participants in the lower bar of your toolbar there, it'll pop up a list of everybody who's on the call on the right-hand side. And you can see everybody there. And there's also a raise hand function. Sometimes that's useful. Sometimes it's just easier to actually raise your hand if you're on the video. So anyway, I'm going to kick off tonight's meeting, and I'm going to go through the agenda briefly, and we'll just wait, let people in as they come. So let's see. Does everybody see the screen that just has this one screen on it?
Yes.
It's got your preview slide as well.
Oh, it does? All right. Let me move that. Huh. This is the problem I always have. I'll try again.
Maybe easier to share the PDF rather than a PowerPoint if you don't want to show two slides at the same time.
What's that?
Maybe easier to show as a PDF instead of a PowerPoint.
Yeah, it would. I will just ad lib my notes. So, bear with me a few minutes, a few moments. Stop.
While he's pulling that up, hi, my name is Laura Turway. I'm the Community Development Director for the city, so I support our building and our planning departments, and we wanted to, again, thank everybody for attending this meeting for OC2040. I think this is our third PAT meeting. We want to make sure that we're just checking in with everybody along this way to make sure that everyone is doing well and feeling supported. If you have any questions or anything as you go through this process, please don't hesitate to reach out to Pete or myself. But thanks again for taking the time. I know now that everybody's gotten used to Zoom, I feel like the number of Zoom meetings has gone up significantly. So thank you for saving an hour of your time and dedicating it to be here tonight. We really appreciate it.
All right, we have a PDF. Thank you for your patience. Obviously, I'm still struggling with Zoom. PDF. Boom. Okay, does everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so welcome everybody. And first of all, I'd like to thank you all for volunteering your time to assist with the comprehensive plan update. The last 4 months have really thrown a wrench into things for people's lives, and I want to thank you all for staying engaged. I'm really proud of you all for participating in this very diverse group. And it's going to be a short meeting, so I'm going to dispense with introductions, but you should be able to see everybody's names. So this evening we're doing a project update. I'll give you an updated schedule. I'm going to be talking about our funding sources briefly, and then we're going to talk about community outreach updates today. I've asked 4 of our project advisory team members to report back on their experiences doing community conversations. Not so much a summary of what was said, but how their meetings went, what they enjoyed, what didn't work, and any tips they may have about their community conversations process. And then we'll be going through some very rough preliminary survey results that we got back from our consultants. And then we'll be talking about the next date for the PAT meeting. And let's see. So where we are right now, we're still in the visioning process. And we are doing some background research still, background reports, and that includes an economic study that Echo Northwest is in the middle of, and a housing needs analysis. We're still waiting for some data from Metro, who are updating the regional buildable land inventory, which is which is going to be complete in November. It was delayed a little bit. So that's still going on in the background, but we're concentrating on the visioning still. And that's really how we know where we want to be in 2040 and why your input is so important at this stage, because we can't formulate goals and policies for a comprehensive plan update until we have a clear vision of what the entire community really wants and needs. So where we are now, going into 2021, our current project funding from Department of Land Conservation and Development is wrapping up, and we're transitioning into the portion of the main funding, which is from Oregon Department of Transportation, from the Transportation and Growth Management Grant. And we just finished the ODOT's selection process for consultants. We had 2 consulting firms apply. They were OTAC and 3J. 3J is our current consultant. And then we also had Angelo Planning Group apply, and it was a very close call. But the selection committee ultimately went with OTAC and 3J. So congratulations to them. They'll be our consultants for the remainder of the project. And we are working with ODOT and with the consultants on finalizing the timing and the scope of work for the rest of the project right now. For you all, there will be meetings coming up, meetings 4 through 12, which will take us all the way to adoption. I'm going to show you a schedule in a minute. We're continuing on with our mailed surveys and our online surveys and community conversations. We still need to do our youth outreach activity, and we still need to develop and adopt a draft vision. As I mentioned, we're doing some background analysis and housing needs analysis, and we haven't started work on the comprehensive plan update. That will begin once we have an adopted vision. In 2021, we will also have 4 summits to develop the chapters of the comprehensive plan. And when that comprehensive plan draft is ready, we will have a comprehensive plan forum, which will be an interactive open house. And then we'll have a series of planning commission and city commission work sessions before going into the public hearing process. So here's our proposed revised schedules. I've added arrows to where the timeline's been bumped out a bit because of COVID and funding delays and that sort of thing. So community visioning process is anticipated to start in November and run through April, end of April. Our current phase, which is education and engagement, would be wrapping up in December of this year. The comprehensive plan update phase is going to go through probably November 2021, and the legislative adoption phase, which was where the Planning Commission and the City Commission hold the public hearings, would probably take us into February 2022. And that's where we're currently looking at right now. As you know, we have a broad and diverse project advisory team. I've got everybody's names and positions listed here. I know people's lives are dynamic, and I know we've had a few people who've had to step down and take jobs elsewhere because of that. And so when that happens, we will ask them to find a suitable replacement. But for the time being, this is who everybody is. I have not shared your personal contact information with anyone without your consent. So if anybody wants to find out anybody else's email address, please contact me and I will be a liaison and ask them if it's okay to share that before it happens, okay? Now, quick summary of what we've done so far in community outreach. We've had approximately 20 community conversations. Thanks to everybody who's done that so far. We have over 820 vision survey responses, and I'll be sharing some of that with you tonight. We're about to send out 4,300 questionnaires to multifamily households in the city. And that's going to include an invitation to an open house, which is going to be held on December 3rd, it's not part of the comprehensive plan, but it's a very important meeting to discuss rent burden for people who are tenants in Oregon City. And Laura may want to speak to that a little bit more later. We also are offering to host your Zoom on the city's Zoom account, community conversations. If you need a place to hold one, we'll provide the login information that you need. And that will allow you to go over the 40 minutes that you might need on because a free account will only allow you to do a 40-minute long conversation. But if you use the city's account, you can go for longer. We're having our photo scrapbook on Instagram, which is getting some interest and hits. I have not been on there because I'm not Instagram savvy, but I know that some of their younger folks have. And display boards and posters are getting some good feedback downtown, posting information about the vision survey on posters. And we're doing bi-weekly social media blasts on the city's social media accounts. Trying to keep the website current by updating it with recordings of all the meetings that we're doing. I'm a little behind on that, but I'll get caught up soon. We also had Meals on Wheels, thanks to Rochelle and the folks at Pioneer Community Center for coordinating a mailing of questionnaires with the Meals on Wheels folks. And they offered a gift basket and got 50 responses back. So that's really great. And talk to me if you have an organization that you think would better use a self-addressed mailed paper survey. We want to do this for the VFW and some of the other clubs whose membership may prefer a mailed survey, but we do have limited funding for that. So just call me or send me an email if you think that would work for your group. With respect to community conversations, they're going to continue through November. We've got 30 on the schedule, about 20 done. And to see the current list, you can go to this link. Ask me if you need the link and keep up the good work on that. Thank you. So now we're going to go into some feedback from our project advisory team members and the groups that they've spoken to. Starting with Mike Mitchell, he spoke to the Optimist Club and the Oregon City Parks Foundation. So Mike, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Pete. I did it via Zoom. I scheduled 2 different nights, one night with the Optimist and one night with the planning, with the Parks Foundation. I had about 12 people signed up, but it ended up only had 2 one night and 3 the next night. I'm going to take a little bit of the blame on one of those. I happened to hit the vice presidential debate one night, and it was possible lost somebody to that, or people to that. But I think it's also probably a combination of Zoom fatigue or Zoom fear, maybe, and just everything else that's going on. I think people are trying to keep their lives afloat, and maybe this isn't hitting the priority. But anyway, good news, bad news of having that small a number. I think it actually turned out we had a very good conversation, and we started out with the list of questions that is a part of the packet that Pete sent out, but it really got pretty free flowing, and I let it get that way and just kept jotting down notes, and then afterwards made the comments that were made, fit back into the questions as best they could. But I did let it wander, and I think it worked very well. It also worked very well because I already knew all 5 of the people over the 2 nights. So we already had a personal relationship, and that helped, I think. If I was going to do it with people that I didn't know, I think it might be better to stick a little closer to the list of questions. But it worked. I think it worked very well, and some things came up that might not have come up otherwise if people were focused, strictly on those questions. And I know I know Pete doesn't want us to get into what was said tonight, and I don't need to. But one thing that did come up, I got put on the spot a little bit because I was asked by someone, how confident was I that this whole process was going to make a difference? And I am confident that it's going to make a difference. And along with that, then the same person asked me, okay, so what happens after this? And that it got me to thinking also, because this vision part of it, we're up at the 10,000 foot level or 5,000, whatever analogy you care to use. And ultimately, once we get that vision, and then we get the comprehensive plan, and then and Pete and Laura, you'll enjoy this phrase, we have to get it to clear and objective standards in our code. So how do you write something clear and objective to fall in line with a vision that is, out at that 10,000 square foot level? So it got into a pretty interesting discussion, how we can make sure that the legal language that has to be in our code lives up to the vision that started the whole process. And I'm confident that we can do it. And I told the people that I was talking to that I was confident we could, but it's not going to be easy either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, someone you talked to clearly was thinking from beginning to end, which is good.
Right.
And it is a challenge to formulate, things that are actionable and that sort of thing. And I'm hoping that this will be a productive process for that.
So
yeah,
thanks.
That's
Mike. What I have to say.
Really good points.
Thank you.
Dan, how'd yours go? Oh, sorry, Richard. Richard, I put your name down wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, actually, I like the name Dan, but it's not mine, so I'll take Richard instead.
Apologies.
The challenge of reaching out and talking to people about the 2040 process in COVID is challenging for all of us. I decided that it'd be useful to send out something to the people on the mailing list of the Homeless Solutions Coalition of Clackamas County, those people that live in the Oregon City area. And I sent them a simple survey, SurveyMonkey survey, which had 3 questions. The first 2 questions were the ones that Laura suggested. And the third one was, I just was thinking about the homeless problem. And I said to people in the third question, think about the homeless population in Oregon City can be done in the long term to help reduce and improve the quality of life for those who are homeless. 17 people responded, and the range of opinions and thoughts about all 3 questions was fascinating. It helped me to understand what Pete and Laura and others are involved in trying to somehow synthesize responses from, in your case, hundreds and hundreds of people who are submitting opinions. Very challenging. For the 17 people that I heard from, there were some themes which I sent on to Pete, and he'll use them. Gary Majors and I and Jay Pierce and Dan Fowler and others can use the results of the third question, which was really very useful for us because it helps us to know and pinpoint the areas that are of great concern to many of our citizens about those that are suffering from a homeless issue. So that was very, very helpful, kind of a win-win solution that gave us input for our organization and also provided something for this process. So that's what happened. It was very useful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Heidi Blackwell.
Yeah, hello.
Hi there.
I'm one of the at-large. I'm a parent and a teacher here in Oregon City. A couple of the community conversations I was involved with was they definitely jump in on the first one. There was a rally at the library, and we had printed off some surveys and just handed them to people, and then they handed them back to us. So that was a way to get people, there's not very many gatherings, but that one was happening. So we took advantage of that to gather some information from people that attended. And then also another way I did a community conversation was there was already a scheduled meeting I was part of, and I just took the last 5 minutes of it and asked the questions. So people were already there, kind of a audience, and just grabbed them and was able to ask what they loved about Oregon City and what they would suggest for this plan in the future. That was another way to get some information. And then just this week, just on my own social media, I put up, what do you love about Oregon City? What's Oregon City missing? And people were really responsive to it. I got 20 comments between and then lots of likes. So probably double that with people that just liked other people's comments. And so that was pretty cool to see that response, and I passed that along to you. So just using my own social media and in groups that I'm part of on Facebook, I was able to get some input as well.
That's really interesting. I like that approach too. Thank you. And finally, Dawn Ward. Oh, Dawn, unmute yourself here.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I didn't introduce myself at the first meeting because I didn't have the system set up, but I'm Don Ward. I've been a resident of Oregon City for about 15 years now. And I'm a housing developer and do some other businesses around the area. My approach is I tend not to get into asking questions, a survey per se, because it's been my experience that people they think too much. And so when I conducted my conversations with the people that I conduct them with, what I did was I incorporated the questions into a casual conversation. And on actually on a couple of them, I used the police station, the new police station that we have as the initial conversation. And from there, I was able to start talking about, Oregon City, the changes, what they saw, what they liked, what they didn't like. And it was more of a casual, authentic, if you will, conversation where they weren't really thinking about what they were talking about, but they were feeling what they were talking about. And it went really, really well. That's always been my approach, is to kind of have a casual dialogue with people and not really get to the point where I'm going from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the questions. It's just, let it flow. Because what happens is when a person is answering a question, they may end up answering another part of a question, and then you can lead into something else. And it's so fluid that it's, you sit there and you're talking for 20 minutes and you got a bunch of information. So that was my approach, and that's how I did it. Yeah,
that's a really important point. We've provided some, various ways to ask these questions, but we want people to feel comfortable and authentic, and just give us the real feedback. So I appreciate that point of view as well. Thanks a lot, Donna. It's good to see you.
Okay.
So here we go with a few of, as Richard had mentioned to me on an email earlier, it's very difficult to analyze qualitative data. So we're getting a lot of very subjective and qualitative information back on these surveys. And one of the ways that 3J is approaching that information is to create this word cloud idea. And here is the answer, some of the responses to why did you choose to live or locate your business in Oregon City? And there's people who have always seemed to come up with a firm reason why they moved here, whether it was for family or because housing was slightly more affordable. There's a more rural atmosphere. It has a small town feel. It's distinct, it's unique. It's not Portland, but it's near Portland. I've heard that quite a bit. And so there's proximity to that urban area there, but we also have our own downtown and our own businesses, which are thriving and vibrant. And I heard a lot of really positive things there. There's a strong sense of community and neighborhoods in Oregon City, and people like that. And obviously our school districts are very good. That's a big reason. And people have to make choices always, but they either have to travel a long way to work and then commute, or they have the luxury of working close to where they live. So, everybody's faced with that challenge. Question 2, what makes Oregon City special today, and what should we strive to preserve or enhance? So clearly our history is extremely important. We're the oldest incorporated city west of the Rockies or the Mississippi. I always get that mixed up. And we have 2 historic neighborhoods, which are very important to people. The downtown area is really thriving. And our proximity to the river is important. So people want to preserve and enhance that feel. There's a lot of interest in our local businesses. Again, Willamette Falls, the project at the mill site comes up as an important issue for people as well, and the need to redevelop that. But you can see some themes here with, with the larger words and that sort of thing. So this is very preliminary and a quick and dirty look at this, and we'll have better results as we move forward.
Hey, Pete, were you intending to show us the word cloud?
Yeah.
Or just talk about it? We can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't see that?
Sorry.
Oh, of course you can. We just, yeah.
I was just going to comment. I've been a real estate broker for 34 years, and your first list, as far as all of the things that, as far as livability and things, I think that would pretty well ring true with what the real estate community feels, the feedback they get for Oregon City is. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this was question 1, question 2, question 3. What would people like to change in the future, and what can it improve? People want safe streets, safe sidewalks, less congestion. They want a supportive supportive environment for businesses, parking downtown, housing choices. They want to see greater diversity and embracing cultural diversity and ethnicity as well. That came up as a theme, which is very encouraging. There's acknowledgement that we have a homeless problem and that sort of thing. But parks, recreation, and trails are important. And clearly, people have a lot of points of view about this. So I'll move on to some of the more quantitative things. We did ask some basic demographic questions. What is your annual household income? For those who chose to answer, about 50% of our respondents have household incomes over 75,000, but we clearly do have some respondents whose households are significantly under the area median income as well. What ways would people like to participate in the process? A lot of different responses here. Attending public meetings, commenting on the website, following the city's Facebook page, completing online surveys is the most popular, through their neighborhood associations, through their schools and places of worship and that sort of thing. Reading the Oregon City Trail News is popular, and staying informed by email, obviously. Which Oregon City neighborhoods do people live in? We got good response across the board, really, I would say. McLaughlin Neighborhood Association had the most respondents, and Two Rivers had the least, and that's not surprising because there are fewer residents there. Let's see. And how do people identify their ethnicity? So about 80% of our respondents who identified as white, about 15% chose not to answer, and then we had about 15%, or sorry, 10% chose not to answer, and about 15% chose other. So let's see, next steps. We're going to select December 1st for our next PAT meeting. The reason that we went with that is obviously because of Thanksgiving. We will not have a meeting in late November. As I mentioned, there's a very important meeting going to be on December 3rd, and that was the other option we considered. But this is the fourth meeting that we can foresee for the future, and hereafter we continue to go with the fourth Wednesday of the month. So that's kind of what we're shooting for.
Hey Pete, can you tell us what they're going to do at the fourth meeting? Is it just a check-in like this, or?
It won't be a check-in like this. We finally got our second source of funding in place. So we will actually be having our consultants facilitate that and giving us the results from the vision surveys and the community conversations that we've had so far, as well as starting in with the major themes that are coming out of that formulate the beginning stages of a vision statement. So that's what we'll be doing at the fourth meeting. We may also be sharing some of the background information that they've been doing research on that I mentioned initially, the housing needs analysis and economic study information, if it's ready in time. So with that, Laura, do you have any other announcements you'd like to make, or does anybody on the PAT want to make an announcement?
Let's see. Sorry. The only thing I wanted to chat about real quick was the severely rent burdened meeting that's scheduled for December 3rd, or tentatively scheduled for December 3rd. We're going to be asking the City Commission a week from tonight on Wednesday if that is okay for staff to facilitate the meeting. And if so, then it will be on December 3rd. More than, so 25.5% of our community spends more than half their income on housing, which is significant. And so the meeting is an opportunity for people to share their stories, talk about why that is, come up with solutions to help address it. So we are actually required to hold these meetings every year that your community is above 25% rent burdened. And this is the first year that Oregon City has met that marker. Last year we were 24.5, so we went up 1%. And so we're trending in the wrong direction. And I'm sure this year didn't help. So if anyone would like to join, we're gonna send everything out. We were going to put notice of it on the bottom of the paper survey that was going out to the 4,200, or I can't recall how many, multifamily and manufactured home parks the next day on November 5th, so that people would have a month to get ready for the meeting and attend as well. We'll also have housing providers and Clackamas County services at the meeting to kind of help connect people as well. Yeah, with that, no other updates for me.
And I know I'm kind of a guest. This is my first meeting, but as a real estate broker and a landlord in Oregon City and other parts of Portland, as they look for solutions, just I hope this august group would understand, burdening the landlord has been a crippling thing for some, and not myself personally. I've actually been very fortunate. Tenants are paying. I do have one that's not, but it seems like all of the solutions have been either through property taxes, which they don't seem to understand gets passed along to tenants in rent increases. And Clackamas County just took a huge hike last year, not this year, but last year things went up incredibly high. And I think there was a measure that expired or went along. But with everything that's Portland and Oregon have said, as far as an example with the rent forbearance, mortgage forbearance doesn't work the same way rent forbearance does, because if the tenants don't pay back the money, they just have to move. If the landlords don't pay, the property owners don't pay back their money, they lose their property. And that doesn't seem to be understood in most of our governmental circles. And so there are some landlords, I've heard some terrible stories about landlords that are losing property because tenants are just deciding not to pay, because that seems to be an opportunity for them. And it can be quite crippling. And Portland, I know, is starting to see a loss of rental housing because landlords are willing to be landlords in Portland. So just understand that that's the direction, and I'll hope to sit in on the rental housing meeting. So just a little insight.
Great, thanks for that.
We'll send out all the information for that meeting on November 5th if the City Commission allows us to have that meeting.
Along with the bar charts that Pete shared, are you wanting feedback on how I was suggesting it changed in the future, to see if you could put the populations of different neighborhoods and also the demographics to see how the results compared to the city's demographics, for the ethnic, racial, compare.
I don't have a good answer for you for that yet. I think we'll be able to share more information about that at the next meeting for sure. So I think those fine-grained things about what neighborhoods are, I don't know if we'd be able to get down to the neighborhood level, but we certainly can use some of the updated information from Metro to key in on census tracts in the city, within the city, that are more disadvantaged than others. And if we can tease it out more fine-grained than that, we'll certainly try. Yeah, that would be part of the housing needs analysis that we're building off of. The one that the initial housing needs analysis that was done, gosh, it was about 1.5 years ago. And so we're going to be building off of that information with some updated data from Metro. But please be sure to send me an email with more specific questions so that I can get it to our consultants.
Okay. And the reason why I'm asking this question about demographics is because I was excited to see that the racial diversity is more diverse than the city's overall diversity.
Overall diversity, yeah.
I think Oregon City is around 90 or 95% white, and maybe more diverse now because it's getting more diverse every year. But the results showed about 80% white, so it seems like about 10% more diverse than the city's overall diversity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should mention, I didn't mention this, but there's also the survey coming out. Laura, what's it called? The Community Satisfaction Survey? That, I can't remember what it's called, but that's going to be going out very soon from the administration at the city, which will be a statistically valid survey. And we've managed to insert a couple of questions, about the comprehensive plan into that as well. So stay tuned for that. Anybody else have any comments or questions? All right. Well, thanks everybody for participating. It's really great. For those of us who weren't able to make it tonight, we will be uploading the video of this to YouTube and putting a link from the YouTube video into the project website as well. And you'll be able to send your friends and neighbors there. So thanks a lot. Don't forget, keep the word out about the surveys. And if you have any questions at all about how to do these community conversations, talk to your fellow PAT members or drop me a line. So take care, everybody, and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.